all the 5 readings are the same, you are either dead or you are a severe diabetic, almost on the verge of death. That becomes called arrhythmia, where the blood sugar doesn't fluctuate at all, you are very unhealthy. If the 5 readings are totally different, you are a perfectly healthy person. Did you understand this? A lot of people come to you with the laboratory report. Sir, this is my last year's report, this is my this year's report. Here the WBC count is 11,200, here 11,300. Why did this 100 go up? Why 1 year? If you took the blood in 2 minutes time different, it came 11,500, 12,500. Because none of the parameters of the body keep at one level unless you are not alive. Did you get that? Number 1. Number 2, how many measures can you make? You ask our pathology professor. 500 tests, 1,000 tests. But mind you, every second of the body, every cell in the body, of which you got 120 trillion cells, there are billions of chemical reactions happening. Not billions, billions. And nobody can keep a control over it. So, it will be very foolish to think that if I every day go for a checkup and keep all the known parameters at a level, I am fine. No. We have given a new definition to health, which is now accepted by the international body called the IOM, Institute of Medicine. Just like you have an Institute of Chartered Accountants here, we have an Institute of Medicine in America, which authenticates the medical parameters. The IOM, in its meeting on the 28th of February 2009, has accepted our definition of health, which is a man or a woman who has enthusiasm to work, and has enthusiasm to be compassionate. Did you mark those things? 2 things. Enthusiasm to work and enthusiasm to be compassionate. He or she is healthy. Absence of disease is not health at all, because there is nobody, no human being, even a child, without a detectable disease in the body on any given day at any time. Have I made myself very clear? If you are able to scan all of us for cancer now, because now we tell people, come for an early checkup, early detection is good, you get cured. People fall and pray for this. This is like saying, you come early because, gold price is going down, and you come and buy gold. This kind of advertisement goes on every day. This doesn't happen because every one of us has a few cancers in our body every day. They don't kill us. They die most of the time. An occasional cancer kills somebody. Sometimes we encourage the cancer to kill you. Cancer doesn't want to kill you, but you kill you. I'll give you one example. For years together I have been saying, cancer of the prostate outlives a man. As long as it doesn't bother you, don't bother them. But Americans and American Indians, we have lot of RNIs here. RNIs, resident non-Indians, who believe only in America, not in India. They used to say, no, when it comes first, let's just operate and remove it. It's gone. I was so happy yesterday. The American Urological Association has put out a paper which said, cancer of the prostate does not kill. Unless it obstructs your urine flow, do not touch it. And follow-up for 30 years showed only 1% of it becomes a real cancer to kill you. 99% of it outlives you. But if you touch it, it kills you very quickly. There was a lot of galaga for the last 1 year to publish this data, because there are 2 associations. Association of Practicing Urologists, who are not teachers, who are not scientists. They are saying, no, cancer must be treated early. The teachers and scientists are saying, no, don't treat it because it doesn't kill. Now after 30 years of observation, even the practicing urologists agreed with the academic urologist saying that cancer of the prostate does not kill. Why I gave you this example is just want to tell you that nobody is devoid of any disease, and if you went for a checkup, when you don't have a disease in your body, if you think you have, you will get into trouble because what we don't tell you and what you don't understand is there is nothing called normal in medicine. What is the normal blood pressure? I don't know. Your blood pressure is different from my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is different from my brother's blood pressure. How do I know what is normal? Do you know what we are talking of? We are talking of average blood pressure. Now, if you apply the average statistical data to a human body, 25% of normal people are declared as patients, which is called false positive, which applies to every parameter from blood sugar to blood pressure to cholesterol to height, weight, everything. I will give you an example. What is the normal height of Indian males? How do we do that? We collect 1,000 Nellore people or Nellore males and measure their heights. There will be people who are 4.6 inches and there are people who are 6.6 inches in Nellore. Now all of them are plotted on a statistical graph and it shows a bell-shaped curve which is called the Gaussian distribution. That is, at this end of the distribution 4.6, this end 6.6. All these are normal findings. A normal human being picked up from Nellore. Now, what we do is, we call a statistician who draws a mean, statistical mean, which comes to 5.4 inches. Now, when we take it to the patient, we say the mean average is normal. That means 5.4 inches is normal and rest is abnormal. Did you understand now? So, a 4.6 inches man becomes a patient. Amitabh Bachchan becomes a patient because he is 6.2. See? So what do we do now? We try to make Amitabh Bachchan also 4.4, 5.4 and the 4.6 man also 5.4. How do you do that? Figuratively, cut Amitabh Bachchan's leg and make him 5.4 and stick that leg to the 4.6 man and make him also 5.4. This is what we are doing in medicine. What is normal blood sugar? I don't know. Very interestingly, a professor of diabetes in the Philadelphia College of Physician Surgeons has written a beautiful book. I want you to read it. It's written for lay people. Who has seen a blood sugar? What's the book's name? Who has seen a blood sugar? His name is Frank Davidoff. Frank Davidoff. Frank writes, I have been a professor of diabetes for half a century and have been treating millions of people and trying to reduce their blood sugar all my life. But I haven't seen blood sugar. I have seen sugar, I have seen blood, I have seen human being, but I have not seen blood sugar. My job has been to lower the evanescent blood sugar which I have not seen, and in the bargain, now I have understood that I have sent millions of my brothers and sisters to heaven prematurely. Did you understand? What is normal blood pressure? I wrote a book on blood pressure in 1993. I have been researching blood pressure from 1962. In 1993, I said a normal adult blood pressure must be 160 systolic and 100 diastolic. If you lower it further, you don't allow proper circulation in vital organs. This book was condemned. This book had a foreword by one of the leading world hypertensinologists, Barry Hoffman. It was condemned. Now what happened? They brought it down. They said, when I was a student in the 50s, we were told that the normal blood pressure should be around 160 and 110. If it goes beyond that, you treat. Otherwise, if a physician, etc., and a teacher, etc., it came suddenly to 140 by 90. So I wrote to the Hypertension Society, how did you bring it down? They said, we have evidence. I said, where is evidence? They never sent it to me. After another 10 years, it came to 120 by 80. After years, it came to 110 by 70. So much so, the blood pressure level kept on coming down, keeping in pace with the number of blood pressure lowering chemicals produced by the drug companies. There is a committee called the JNC, Joint National Committee, consisting of 10 very important people in America. These are called hypertensiologists. They sit there once in 5 years and then pronounce to the world what should be the blood pressure level. The first JNC said blood pressure level must be 160 by 100. Second one said 140 by 90. Third one said 120 by 80. Fourth one said 110 by 70. Fifth one also said 110 by 70. And recently in 2013, the latest JNC said blood pressure is being brought too low. And we are lowering blood pressure too low and killing more people. So let it go back to 160 by 100. And now they have said blood pressure normal for adults must be 160 by 100. They say 159 by 99 and for diabetics 140 by 90. Okay? But you ask any doctor whether he knows this? No. This report has been kept pending, not released. The government was forced not to release this report by the drug companies. In the meantime, in 2013, the 5 drug company people started a study called SPRINT study. Very quickly they finished the study within 1 year. They published the data, which even Indian Express and Times of India have published, saying that blood pressure must be lowered to 110 by 70, otherwise you are killing a lot of people. Now see, just see the background. Even a layman who reads a newspaper knows if the blood pressure is not brought down to 110 by 70, a lot of people die. But what the scientific committee said 3 years ago, that it should be 160 by 100. Otherwise, you are not circulating enough blood in the body and you are killing a lot of people in sleep of heart attack, which is going to see in the light of the day. Do you understand this? So friends, your life depends on yourself. Don't you depend on outside agencies to give you guidance. So how do you know whether you are healthy or not? Get up in the morning and say, do I want to go to work? If the answer is yes, you are healthy. Do I want to help somebody? Yes, you are healthy. But ask most people today, do you want to go to work? No, yeah, I have to go to work. I have to go to work to get the pay. Nobody says, I want to go to work whether I get pay or not. Has anybody said that? If anybody says that in the morning, he does not require doctors and he does not require any medicines for the rest of his life. The next question is, do I want to help somebody? How many of you will say yes? I have to help somebody because they say he's a good man, he has helped, and I give you some 10 rupees and put my name on that. Donation given by DM Magnet, 10 rupees. But we have forgotten what our ancestors have taught us. What did Ishoparishad say? Tena, Tyaktena, Punjita. Rejoice in giving. What did Jesus say? It is not for thee alone. Pass it on. Pass it on. Christianity is charity, not charity. Charity is a very bad word. Charity. Because what wealth you have is not yours. You don't own it. You are only a trustee. Imagine all the wealth accumulated by greedy people in society, including politicians and various others. Has anyone seen anybody taking that money when he goes up? They may take it to Panama, they may take it to Switzerland, but can they take it to heaven? Don't people see this every day? But still, why do they want to harm others? And that's why Jesus said it's not for thee alone. That is why Ishoparishad said, Tena, Tyaktena, Punjita. That's why Quran said, Zukat. Every religion, every God, if there is one, and if everyone said, try to help others and don't try to help yourself. Now we leave all that. We come to science. What is science? We say modern Western medicine is scientific. Ayurveda is not scientific. What is science? Anybody can answer this question, what is science? That medical student, third year medical student, I met just now. Everybody, what is science? What is the definition of science? Good girl. Amy, fear, Amy. Foolish. Question very foolish. All answers are wise. Any other answer? What is science? No answer? Ah, yes.
Knowledge about natural world through experiments and observations.
Okay. Experiments is science. Okay. Now, do you have a thought in your mind? Do you have a thought in your mind? Do you have a thought in your mind? Can you experiment with that thought? Is it scientific thought or unscientific thought? So you can't experiment with that thought. Do you love your wife?
Yeah.
Can you experiment with that? Measure it? So it's not, it's so love is unscientific. You love your children? Can you experiment with that? That is why Mary Curie, when she said, science is measurement and measurement is science, everybody agreed because Mary Curie said that. If science is measurement, all that you can't measure is not science. Have you heard of, who has heard of fish net hypothesis? Science is called fish net hypothesis. This is a proposal by a very big scientist, Nobel laureate, Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington, a physicist in England, who propounded. So hypothesis was born. Fishes longer than 2 inches are sea fishes, rest of them are river fishes. Okay? Hypothesis came, it came in the textbook, and Nikita wrote notes there, and then everything happened. And business started. So in the market, any fish which is longer than 2 inches is called sea fish. After 10 years, another group said, there is something fishy about the whole thing. They went to the sea. And they had a different net, which had a smaller size hole. The bigger, the other fellows who went first had 2 inches hole. These people had 1 inch hole. So when they went to the fish and got the fish, even 1 inch fish was there in the sea. So they said, no, sea fish can be 1 inch also. Another hypothesis. So, science is measuring with whatever scale you have got. You are catching a fish with a scale hole. So that's called fish net hypothesis, which means all science is simply junk. Do you understand that? Now this Western science, which they teach us, which we still teach in our schools, 68 years after independence, is the science which is dead long, long ago. What was the science? The way names you say. Newton, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein. There are so many other names, but these are the most illustrated 2 names. What do? They had a hypothesis. Deterministic predictability laws of Newton. Action, reaction are equal and opposite, and blah 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 blah. Everything must move in a particular way. What is the fastest going? Speed of light. 186,000 kilometers, miles per second. That's the fastest. And then, along with Albert Einstein's relativity theory, together they put what is called, this whole world was a space-time conundrum. Space and time. And then in the space, what happens? Time, what happens? How does time move? How does space move? How do things happen in this? Out with that, there is no science. Did you get that? Now what happens here is, these are things you can measure with your 5 senses. Your eyes, your fingers, your hands, your nose, your mouth. Like for example a child. You have seen a child in your house, the best scientist. You buy the child a toy, for 2 days you look at it carefully. Enjoy it and keep it there carefully. That is called observation, the first quality of a scientist. The 3rd day, it will lick it and see whether it is any taste. 4th day, it will smell to see whether it smells. 5th day, it breaks it to see what is inside. This is science. The ideal, unbiased, unabashed scientist is one who has got Curiosity. The child has curiosity. Now, this is called science. Science, Nikita, is trying to understand this world. Now, when you apply Newton's and Einstein's theories of relativity, this world cannot be measured at all. According to the known Western sciences, they have understood only 5% of this world. 5%. 95% is not known. Even Tamil saying, I don't know whether it is Tirupura, there is a nice saying, which I don't know the exact words in Sendamil, but in simple Tamil it is, தெரிஞ்சது கையளவு, what you know can be held in the hand actually. தெரியாதது உலகளவு, what is not known is universal. It's absolutely true. We know three energies, electromagnetic energy, nuclear energy, gravitational energy. These three energies could be measured, but they constitute 5% of the world. 95% of the world is unknown. It is called occult energy or hidden energy. Very interesting. Just see this. Understanding 5% of the world, we have projected on 100% saying that Newton and Einstein are right. I will give you one example. Einstein's theory of relativity is only a theory, sitting and talking and writing mathematical formula. 16 scientists in the world over the last so many years trying to find out whether what Einstein said is true. Understand that? How do you do that? Say for example, one measure you can make. Einstein said, when the stars are far away from the sun, billions of miles away, when starlight comes to the earth, the sun's gravitational energy pulls it to one side. So instead of coming straight, it gets bent. So Einstein calculated and said it bends 2.7 inches and it reaches the ground. And that was the theory. And E is equal to mc squared, etc., is all involved in that. Now the 16, how do you measure that? To measure starlight, you should not have sunlight. It happens only twice in a year, on a complete solar eclipse day. And the best vision is in two places in the world. One is called Principia, a small island in Africa, and the other one is called Sobral in Brazil. So these 16 scientists took their telescopes and went to these places and photographed starlight. 16 different sets of researchers from different universities, and all of them showed that Einstein was wrong and Newton was also wrong. Now do the textbook right there. Did you read that in your intermediate, in your PUC? No. You were told that E is equal to mc squared is right. But do you know Einstein's own student in the Zurich Polytechnic in 1925 told Einstein in the class, sir, you are talking to your hand. E is equal to mc squared is wrong. Who was that student? Werner Heisenberg. And he said, this deterministic predictability model doesn't work in this universe because the universe is much beyond what you are all thinking. And he said, uncertainty principle. PQ is not equivalent to QP, he said. Do you know what happened to him? When a bright student in the class gets up and tells an arrogant professor that you are wrong, what will happen to the student? Any professors here? Lot of you are there. What will happen to the student in your class? He becomes an outstanding student, standing outside the class. And Werner Heisenberg was standing outside the physics class in the broader sense, that is physics group, for 33 years for Einstein to die. And then he gets the Nobel Prize. And Werner Heisenberg is the father of quantum physics. And the whole physics, the real physics starts with Werner Heisenberg. Of course, then there are Max Planck, Pauli, Paul Dirac, Hans Peter Dürr, and a lot of others. And now, physics of Einstein and Newton are wrong. Thermodynamics. I will give you one example. You take helium, liquid helium, put it in a porcelain jar, okay? Tie the jar and hang it on your roof. On your ceiling, leave it there for 2 days. The helium will go up on the side of the jar, will go up and will fall down. Where is thermodynamics? liquid flowing down. So all this science that we teach students in the class is not proven to be right. Did you understand that? Then came the science of quantum physics. What is quantum physics? A quantum jump in thinking. The space-time is not the only thing. Lot of things happen outside the space and time, and lot of things happen which you cannot hold. And one of the leading quantum physicists wrote a beautiful paper. You can read it. You can comprehend much more than what you can grasp. What's the paper's name? You can comprehend much more than what you can grasp. And this paper is so beautiful. And you must read that. He has written it for lay people like you. And his name is Hans Peter Dürr. H-A-N-S-P-E-T-E-R-D-U-R-R. He got the Nobel Prize and the alternate Nobel Prize, which is about 1.5 lakh the money worth of Nobel Prize. Hans was a very nice man. He died recently. And Hans is a very simple human being. He was my associate editor in our journal. He was with us for our research work. And Hans used to come to India. And I used to take him around lecturing to physics professors in colleges and universities. And most of the professors didn't understand what he was talking because they were still in Newtonian, Einsteinian physics. What I am trying to tell you is, quantum physics takes us closer to Indian science. Very interesting, very, very interesting. What does quantum physics say? Non-locality. Physics as conventional physics is locality. Every action must happen here. But quantum physics now tells us if something happens here, the same thing can happen in Boston, Timbuktu, or Mysore, or in Bangalore. Simultaneously. And if you intentionally know that person and want to know that person will contact you either by telephone, email, or something else. This is called what we used to call in India telepathy. This telepathy is now in physics called teleportation. You know teleportation? It's telephone, you know, that is talking to somebody at a distance. Television, you know, looking at something at a distance. Teleportation is transfer of data, known or knowable data, from one place to another place, without loss of time and without any communication facilities. I'll give you an example. Supposing you are all here now, and you think I am a good man, and you are happy about it. Suddenly, if I now pull out a gun from my pocket and tell you, I shoot all of you, what will happen to you? You just touch your underwear, it's all wet. Here. Now, conventional physics says, you have seen the gun, your retina says that, it goes to the pineal body, goes to the adrenal body, and then releases the bladder, and then it takes time, no? No. Gun out of my pocket, piss in the underwear. It's called teleportation. The minute you see the gun, your bladder itself works. The idea gets transferred directly. You don't require a system in the human body because all systems are connected. You will be surprised to know you and I are connected. If you know the science of quantum physics, you and I are so closely connected that if I want to hurt you, if I really try to hurt you, I am hurting myself. If I help you, I am helping myself. That is why the definition of health today includes the most important part. It's not emotional, spiritual things like that. Enthusiasm to help. Compassion. With each time you say, I must help K.R. Reddy Garu, my health improves. Each time you think, I will cheat K.R. Reddy Garu somehow or other, I must hurt him, do something, your health goes down. So, your health is not in K.R. Reddy's hands, it is in your hands. So, if you want, do you know why this? Do you know how we came here? There's a beautiful science. Nikita learned her biology, which is called Western biology. Just now one doctor was saying, there is a genetic pattern and then there is an environmental pattern. This genetic pattern is a Western science inheritance for us. Mendelian inheritance, Darwinian evolution. duration of the survival of the fittest, etc., etc. I'll give you an example. Let us say we were snakes, according to the Western biology. We were snakes, right? At some time, we were monkeys, snakes. Supposing I was a snake, it is very easy to survive as a snake. Because I don't even have a coronary circulation. So you don't have to have angioplasty, bypass surgery, because you don't need a coronary circulation at all. Why did you become a man or a woman and have coronary arteries and go to the hospital for angiogram? Isn't it nice to be a snake, Nikita?